Hello, my name is Alex Eddy, and I am collaborating on this project with Dr. Micah Hartwell. This study is over the impacts of physiological and socioeconomic parameters on the likelihood of heart disease using a statistical model. So the data set we chose to use for this study is NHANES, which stands for the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey. This is publicly available data that was comprised of data from interviews and physical examinations from approximately 5,000 people each year in the United States. We used the R programming language to download and acquire the data from the 2017 to 2018 acquisition cycle, which gave us an N of 9,254 participants. So this being in large part survey data, there's a non-negligible problem of missingness in the data. And there's a question of how to handle missingness. So, for example, take systolic blood pressure. One way that you can handle this is by taking the average of the overall systolic blood pressure data set and using that in place of the missing data, or you can delete the missing entries altogether. But those aren't necessarily statistically valid techniques. So what we opted to use was an algorithm called multiple imputation with chained equations, also known as MICE. It's a convenient package available in the R programming language. And the way it works is for each analyzed variable, such as systolic blood pressure, it will generate 5 data sets with different possible values for the missing entries based on the characteristics of the known data. Each of those 5 data sets will then be analyzed separately, such as with regression analysis. And then at the very end, the results will be recombined. So these are the variables we analyzed. Our dependent variable, this is the one we wished to predict, was the presence of heart disease, given a value 0 if no heart disease and 1 if there was heart disease. And then we have 13 independent variables below, and I'd like to draw your attention particularly to the 2 socioeconomic variables we threw into the analysis, those being monthly income and family size, 9 and 10. So before moving on with any sort of analysis, just looking at the differences between the 2 groups, the group with heart disease on the left here with the colors and the group without. So orange boxes represent values that are higher in the group with heart disease, and blue boxes represent values that are lower in the group with heart disease. So we see a lot of expected results here. Systolic blood pressure is higher in the group with heart disease, BMI, CRP, triglycerides, A1C, and so on. There are a couple of oddballs here. We do see that diastolic blood pressure is lower in the group with heart disease, as is LDL cholesterol, and we'll touch on that in the conclusion. HDL is also lower in the group with heart disease, and monthly income is lower in the group with heart disease. Family size is also lower in the group with heart disease. So now we get to the logistic regression analysis. This is the statistical model that was referenced in the beginning. So what logistic regression does is it takes it looks at combinations of each of the variables and comes up with a predictive relationship in order to predict the odds or the probability of someone having heart disease given any combination of these variables. And so I'd like to draw your attention to the column here marked as estimate. These are essentially the predictive strengths of each variable in giving someone heart disease or non-heart disease. Negative means negative predictive strength, and that's marked in blue. Positive means positive predictive strength. And the numbers marked in gray were not found to be statistically significant predictors of heart disease. These are also ordered from most negative predictive to most positive predictive. And the logistic regression formalism here, the formula is also written in the poster. And you can feel free to reference that. So in conclusion, based on the prior graph, the strongest negative predictor of heart disease was actually larger family size, and perhaps that's because social support fosters a healthier lifestyle. The strongest positive predictor of heart disease was having a first-degree relative with a history of myocardial infarction. Perhaps this is because of shared genetic and environmental factors. Strangely, perhaps, lower diastolic blood pressure and LDL cholesterol were found in the group with heart disease. And it's difficult to determine for sure why this is the case, but it could be because these people were on a strict medication regimen. And finally, average monthly income was lower in the group with heart disease, but this was not found to be a statistically significant predictor. Thank you for your kind attention.